So yeah, I don't know if you want to keep me in the center of the frame or not, or what the hell you want to do. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. That's the way we're rolling here. All right. So, like I said earlier, we're doing a walkthrough on how you make a 7-barrel brewery on a shoestring budget. We built this place over the course of a couple of years with next to nothing because we're poor people. So, let's get it started off. Hot liquor tank, brew kettle, and mash/lautering tun. We got these all from China. We originally wanted to get them from the States, and what we found out was all the US suppliers, or at least a lot of them, were just buying stuff from China and relabeling it. So, if you want to buy your own, go online. When we purchased from a guy named Gavin Zhang. You can find him yourself. His company, when we talked to him, was called Sun Good Manufacturing. So, if you type Gavin Zhang, Sun Good Manufacturing, into Google, you should find this guy, and he will give you quotes, and he is a nice guy. So, that's probably what everybody really wanted to know, was where you get these tanks. If I forget to go over anything, I assume we're going to have a comment section at the bottom of this thing. I mean, you guys, I'm not a computers guy, but I think we can figure something like that out. If people have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But so maybe we start the tour of the brewery in here. I'll just show people. Come on in. This is how we store all of our barley, malted barley. We just have a bunch of these plastic totes. Each one of these holds a 55-pound bag of barley, wheat, rye, whatever. This is a 17-gallon size. It holds it. Keeps them nice and safe from pests and stuff. We leave them in the bag and put them in there. Works great. Health and sanitation loves it. It's a great way to do it. We're experimenting with this little canner we got from October. This thing's a little worse for the wear, but it works great. You can see the brand there. October canning machines. We'll do a different video about how to wash stuff, but that's our line cleaning kegs. This is an inline heater, and that's another video as well. But so anyway, we'll start off with the mash tun, where obviously you put your grain. I got some equipment on the top here, but the important thing to know about this mash tun is we got it in from China, and it had a screen at the bottom of it, and it was just crap. It didn't work at all, and we ruined a couple batches. We couldn't figure out why. It was because the screen didn't fit. It had about a 1-inch gap underneath it, and all these barley husks were just flying through into the brew kettle, ruining our beer. So we ended up getting a new screen. Maybe you guys can jump in there and get a shot. Maybe you can't see it, I don't know. But when actually I was doing my garage home brewing stuff, I found these guys because I was brewing in stainless steel 55-gallon drums. And these guys were out of California. Again, I'll try and put it, if anybody wants to know the name, leave a comment, I'll track them down. They make custom homebrew lauter tun screens. And we called them up and we were like, no one will give us the time of day as far as lauter tun screens go. And so if you could just give us, if you guys could make us a big one, we'd appreciate it. And they said, we'll do our best. And they sent us this thing, and it is dynamite. I mean, it works perfect. So yeah, I'll try and get their name. If anybody wants to know, just let me know in the comments. So obviously, your wort comes out of your lauter tun. If you're watching this video, you probably know how to brew beer. And we have a pump cart that we've made ourselves. It's kind of quaint, and it has paint all over it. This is a pump we ordered from the same people who made the rest of the equipment. It didn't come on this cart. We put it on this cart. The purpose of that is if you don't have hard plumbing, like a huge brewery, you only need one pump. You can just roll it from tank to tank. We did have to figure out how to get a controller unit to control it, so we can control the rotation speed of the impeller of this pump. And I'll show you the controller we bought for that. I'm not sure what that says. What does that say, guys? Well, let me just get a close look at that, just so people can buy this themselves if they want it. But this thing works great.
It's branding for it.
Yeah. We basically turn this dial, and we can set the impeller to whatever RPM we want, which is great for if you want to draw something out of a tank slowly and not draw in a bunch of sludge, or if you don't want to get things whipped into a froth, or if you're afraid that you're going to run out of liquid and you don't want your pump chamber to run dry. This thing is just great. We love it. So obviously we come out of the mash tun. We're pumping into the brew kettle. We're putting hot water back into the top of the mash tun from the hot liquor tank. I actually just use a little homebrew pump for this. It's not a very big job, and since the water is up high in this thing, I have no problem filling that up. We also run a Vorloft with the little homebrew tank, or with the little homebrew pump, and we used to have problems with that clogging. What we actually did for that, I'll show you. We'll probably just edit this part out, whatever. Here, we'll go over here. So this is a sprayer that just sprays our recirculated liquid or our hot water, and it just attaches inside on the other end of this or one of the other 3 tri-clamp fittings. And when we're doing a Vorloft, these holes actually would clog with whatever you call it, chaff or sheath or whatever from the barley holes. And what we actually found to stop that is we put a cap on this without a gasket, and a lot of the chaff that would get caught here just goes right to the end and stops. So that's just a really super useful trick. This actually has a air stone in it right now, which is why I have this tube, but that's no matter. So we're doing our Vorloft. We're topping up from our hot liquor tank. As you can see, our hot liquor tank is just coming off our Albany water supply. I did another video on Albany's water, and what that comes down to is in Albany, all I need to do to the water is run it through this cheap, buy it at Home Depot, carbon filter can. And all it takes out is the chlorinate, and after that I can put whatever I want in the water to brew the beer however I like it. So that's one good thing about living in an old city with lead pipes. So, water out of the hot liquor tank into the mash tun. We went over the pump. Comes into the brew kettle here. So we got this brew kettle in from China, and we were hoping that it would be just ready to rock. But unfortunately, when you get stuff in from China that doesn't have that extra step where an American company puts their plate on it, it has a couple of couple of things that's lacking, to say the least. As you can see, my steam vent up here at the top, we made ourselves. Obviously, that's actually the stainless steel liner from the inside of a chimney. And the steel is rated for the food grade, so if stuff drips back into the beer, that's no problem. But we did have to figure that out on our own, and as you can see, the job isn't quite as clean as you'd think it would be. The other thing is when we bought these, the fire housing down at the bottom here did not have a space for an exhaust. And so we had to figure out how to put that in on our brew kettle. The hot liquor tank did have one, and we think they just forgot to put one on here. So I cut a hole in the side myself, bought a piece of 3/16 stainless steel blue line tube, had someone weld it on for me. Let's get some shots of our pipe in a pipe. Here, I'll get back here. So this is our pipe in a insulated pipe. This is the kind of thing you'd see on a wood stove or a chimney. It's a lot fatter, obviously, than one you'd see in your house, but the idea here is there's insulation between this inner pipe and this outer pipe so you don't start your roof on fire, something that happened around here very recently. And there's other ways it's connected to spacers that keep it away from wood and such. But you have your exhaust coming out of these pipes right here. And you can see I have the hot liquor tank and the brew kettle going into this corner, and then both going up and out. These pipes, I monitor them while I'm brewing, because if they get over about 800 degrees, they start to break down. So while I'm brewing, I make sure they're running about 600 in this area. And then this is our harmonic or atmospheric dampener. And what this does actually is it allows cold air from the room to be drawn in through suction into here, and then this cold air sits on the top of the hot air in here. And that actually holds heat down inside of these kettles. So you actually use a lot less natural gas if you have this cold air coming in here. And then I normally take the temperature right here before it goes into this, I believe this is called B vent. And by the time it goes past this and is cooled, it's normally only like 400 degrees, and these are rated for like 1600. So it's really good to know that I'm not going to catch my building on fire. That's something I really like. And then we've got the heaters. That was a hard thing to figure out. So this monstrosity here is the Midco Economite model numbers right here. We'll get a zoom in of that at some point. But this basically is a giant heater for a building, for a big building, and it I think this thing uses at max 400,000 BTU per hour, which is a lot, and I don't ever have to run it at that speed. And we spent a lot of money on this one because we wanted one that we could modulate the BTU to do different things. If I could go back, I'd probably just I'd probably save a few $1,000s and buy one that instead of doing 40 to 400,000 BTU, that just ran at 250 all the time. A lot of people will tell you that they run a 7-barrel at 350, which is because they're trying to crank out multiple brews in a day, sometimes 5 or more. And I never do more than 1 in a day. So the extra 20 minutes it takes me to heat up, I wouldn't sweat it. But so I spent a lot of money on this Economite. The tank coming from China, and they might be better at this now. And I don't know, Gavin Zhang was good to me. If you talk to Gavin, tell him I said hi. But this tank did not come with a proper connection for this unit. What it came with was essentially kind of like a big tri-clamp welded on here. And so I ended up drilling into it, threading some holes, and making a connection for this. But if you go and buy a tank like this, make sure you already know which unit you want, and make sure that the connection is spec'd to it. That'll save you a good amount of time. And just realize when you're buying something from China, you are taking a bit of a risk. If I could do it again, when I did this, I didn't know American manufacturers, so somebody told me where to go, and it was the only place I knew, and that was where I went. So this is what I ended up with, and I just want to make sure other people can see what they'll be getting themselves into. Speaking of which, after I had to weld the exhaust pipe onto this flame box, we got it, and inside of here, I actually don't really want to pull this apart, but this box did not have any insulation in it. So I had to contact my uncle, who's a chemist, and he works in foundries, to tell me what I could fill this with. And he sent me something, and I don't know what it's called. But if you want to know, drop a comment, and I'll see if I can send you a link to the stuff and the hardener for it and where to buy it. And if you have any other questions, I'll make another video to try and answer those. But so anyway, this has some insulation in it, and my brother, who's filming right now, got his long spider monkey arms in there and managed to wrap the insulation around this pipe right here. The inside of this, as you might have guessed, if you're a brewer, is concave, and this runs right through the flame box and into the center. And so when I would brew in here, the flame coming out of the heater would pelt that tube, and the sugars in this kettle would just dry up. They would turn solid, and I couldn't get anything out of the bottom, and they would burn and make the beer taste bad. So we just had to wrap that thing with insulation to get that to stop. And actually, if that is happening, what we had to do was, while the brew kettle was running, we would just constantly move beer through with the pump at a slow speed, just to keep the beer in that tube from burning and sticking that tube. More about this. Like I said, it's a 7-barrel, but as you might see right here, this thing floods out at like 350 gallons, which is obviously more than 7 barrels, but it's sold as a 7-barrel. I actually think I bought the stuff from China, and there was like poor communication, and I got a bigger tank than I ordered. Honest to God. So it's a big tank. It's not insulated. Neither's the hot liquor. But we have, your level indicators. There is a coil in here if you want to do heat exchange. There's a coil that runs through here. That was an option. We got that. speaking of things being greatly oversized, this cooler, I have been to 20-barrel breweries that have a cooler half this size. This came in a crate. We didn't know what it was. I think this probably weighs... It's stainless steel, and these plates are thick. It weighs more than an engine. I'm going to guess it weighs about 400 or 500 pounds. But that being said, it cools very well, very quickly. It'll bring the beer down to the temperature of the cooling water just as quick as I can put it through. That being said, it was mislabeled. These little labels that say material out in English, I couldn't figure out why this thing wouldn't work. And so I put pictures of it online, and somebody said, that's Mandarin Chinese. It says material in. I said, okay. That's the problem. Things are moving in the wrong direction. So I got that sorted out. That's another thing to look into. I have to change my plumbing due to regulations, but currently my cooling water comes off the wall, comes out of the main into a 3/4 inch pipe, and just fires through this thing as fast as it'll go. I open it wide. I'm in a large city. I'm near sea level, and it comes through here at about 110 psi. Just goes ripping through there. And the cooler works very well, but in the summer, the water comes out of the ground at about 75. So if you want it cooler than that, you have issues. In the winter, it comes through about 40. So I can obviously cool lagers and stuff much more easily in the wintertime. It's a great cooler. I've made this ugly thing so I can wheel it around. You can see it is hugely heavy. I actually sterilized this with hot water. Now, as beer's coming out, I have an air stone and a clear sight tube here. I put oxygen in here. I have a one-way valve, an oxygen stone. I have an oxygen tank and regulator. Depending on how strong I want the beer to be, or how I want it to brew, how much oxygen I want the yeast to have, I just look at how much air is coming out of this stone as it's flowing by. And it's totally by feel. I look at it, I say, that's about the right amount of frothiness for the beer I'm brewing. If it's a very strong beer, the yeast needs more oxygen. If it's a Hefeweizen and I want the yeast to struggle, I will give it almost none. It's just by feel. It works perfectly fine. Beer comes out, wort comes out rather. It's great. This has a whirlpool too. You probably already knew that. Let's go into the cold room, which I want to warn my watchers now is a little bit quaint. A little quaint. These are my CO2 tanks, oxygen tank. I have distributor blocks all over, so I have CO2 where I need it. Don't judge this room, it's under construction. But just so you can see, I do not have beautiful double-jacketed stainless steel tanks. I have cheap plastic tanks that are dusty because I'm doing construction in here. They're made by Ace Rotomold. I bought these tanks for a couple $100 each. They are perfectly fine for brewing beer, and the guys at Ace Rotomold will tell you that. And they are inexpensive. You can buy them with a stand, but I chose not to because, as you can see with these tanks, I have to get under them and below them, and I don't have a lot of room in here. So they had to be at the right height. And looking back, I probably could have bought the stands and cut the legs lower or welded to them to make them longer. But I chose to make this ugly-ass table, which I painted with gray deck over. This whole room, this whole ugly room, you might have realized, even though it's beautifully finished, that I built it myself. Hard to believe that I could make something this glorious, but I did make this myself. And as you look here, you'll see that this is obviously a staircase on the other side of this. So this whole room is refrigerated, and this saved us a huge amount of money. This is probably one of the biggest deals in the whole thing, because if you buy a cold room, it's whatever size it's going to be. 10 by 20, 10 by 10, 15 by 20, whatever. That's all they come in. One of those wouldn't fit in here, right? We couldn't fit one in the building. It would have been 40, 50 grand, right? We would have spent 40, 50 grand for something we couldn't use. We built this right into the building. It's the size it has to be because this is all the space we have. But you can see we've tucked it under the staircase. We've hit it right against the wall. We haven't wasted any space. So it's something that'll actually work for us. So this is the fermenting portion of the room. In the other side, we have the freezer portion. Okay, so again, obviously, under construction. Echo! This is a room that we keep at 30 about degrees to store beer and to carbonate beer. This is our single wall, non-insulated bright tank that we got from Gavin at the Sun Good. Nice tank, no complaints. A little dirty at the moment. Been doing some construction in here, as I said. But you can see what we've got in here. We got our evaporator unit, basically that absorbs all the heat, throws cold air out into the small room here. We've got our CO2 distribution blocks. We've got our keg couplers, all the little things we need in here. So this room is very, very cold, and the other room is less cold, but we only have one evaporator unit, right? So what we do here, I'll show you, is we have this ugly ass fan right here, and over there you'll see that we have another tube. And if you come in here, can you guys even see that, or is it too dark in here? You can see it. You can see that the way we actually regulate the temperature in this room is to circulate cold air from the other room around in a circle. So this room's always being heated by the rest of the brewery, and then we cool this off just to the point we want, and then when it gets cool enough to ferment, we turn the fans off. We just have a little, a thermostat for that. And we actually have a heater in here, so if it's winter and we need it to be warmer in here, the thermostat will turn on a heater, or it'll turn off the fans. It'll do either. So we always keep it the temperature we want in here, which is great. Besides that, these tanks, we attached racking arms to them ourselves. So maybe you can get a shot of the racking arms. I cut through the side of the tank myself, installed the racking arms. So the tanks do have that. You can see how tight the tolerance is with the floor here. But it does work. I used to clean these by hand, but I actually did put in a sprayer ball in each one of these tanks. I could do a whole nother video on how to clean them at some point, but as for right now, we'll just say that they have a sprayer ball. The sprayer ball works great, so they are automatic cleaning. And then, so obviously, you know, I keg with the bright tank. People probably know how a bright tank works. And then I have my homemade keg cleaner. I'm going to just clean this off a bit just before we keep taking shots, just because it looks so fucking damn terrible. Is running?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this is the keg washer I made myself. If you can't tell, this isn't professionally made. I don't know. People might not know how a keg washer works. What I've actually got next to me here is I've got 2 reservoir tanks. One is an acid cleaner, and the other one is full of sterilizer, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with. As you can see, this is a 3 keg cleaner. You put your kegs here upside down and connect to them with it's basically just a standard keg tap. It just has 2 extra shutoffs that help you clean, and basically it looks like this. You take your kegs back from whatever bar, put them upside down, put them up here, put your connector on there, and let them blow all the old beer out. Ooh, train going by. That's going to ruin a shot. Then you run some let's let the last one get out here. Then you run some tap water in. I've got tap water coming off. You have to drop the pressure down because it comes in at about 110, and 110 will just like blow all this other mechanism to pieces. So we drop it down to like, shit, maybe I can just turn this on and read this gauge. I can't even remember what we run it at. Yeah, I think we run it at like 30. So we got our kegs up here. I'll just throw one up there. Hold on. This is my big stack of kegs. We originally got a bunch from China, and then we found another outfit we like out of Florida. So we're buying kegs from them now. But so you get your kegs up here upside down. You couple to it. You blast tap water through there and let it drain out, down a drain. You guys think I should actually just go get the equipment and
Do a separate video.
yeah, you know, we'll do a separate video for this, but yeah, basically this is a homemade keg washer. It works great though. You do 3 kegs every 5 minutes or so. So I mean, it's a good machine to be able to just do 3 kegs in 5 minutes. And you know, you got your acid, your sterilizer, a pump, and that's pretty much all you need. Maybe we'll do. If people want to see another video about that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll assume nobody cares. This is my banging fridge I made. Maybe people could watch the video about how I made that. That was awesome. But yeah, this was a Coke bottle freezer that somebody left in my garage. And I made this out of it. But so that's how you build a 7-barrel brewery on a shoestring budget. And I hope people will be excited to make their own brewery someday. I know a lot of people are trying to get into it, and I just thought that this would be helpful for people who are trying to break into the business, just to know what you should know, because you never know what you don't know. And anyway, I appreciate you guys taping me. And anybody wants any information, please make a comment. Let me know what you want to know. Any video, I want to make it, so just let me know. Thanks for watching this video. Sláinte.